What's up, everyone? Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of KTSW Sports 360. I'm your host, Jude McClaren, for this episode, and we have a special guest here today, new defensive coordinator for San Marcos Rattler football, Kurtis Kloiber. Did I pronounce that right?
That sounds good. I mean, if you, for my family's from Austria.
Okay.
So if you were from Austria, you would have pronounced it right. But here in America, since I've been born, it's Kloiber.
Kloiber.
So the O is silent, but hey, I've been called a lot worse things.
Hey, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, just to start off, Coach, really, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? And what was your path to get into coaching?
Yeah, so I grew up in Amarillo. And, I really been in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
But I grew up in Amarillo. I went to two different elementary schools there. In the sixth grade, I went to Puckett Junior High, which would have fed into Amarillo High. And I'll get back to that in a little bit. And then I moved on to a place in Houston in Cy-Fair, the Cy-Fair school district called Blau Junior High. Mm-hmm. And I ended up playing football with the head coach that's at Jesuit now and the defensive line coach at Cedar Hill, Shane Rink and Brandon Hickman. And then I moved on to play at Apollo Junior High, which the head coach of John Paul in Dallas, Mark Malcolm, was my head coach, and he had a huge influence on my life. And then my dad at that point moved to Tennessee.
Okay.
And I did not want to go to Tennessee. I wanted to play football in Texas. So I moved back with my mom in Amarillo, and we opened up Randall High School. And I played for a guy named Stocky Lamberson. And Stocky Lamberson's a legendary coach up in the Texas Panhandle. And we opened that place up, and we didn't do so good. But then I had a coach named Gary Gaines, who was the linebacker coach at Tech at the time, come ask me to be a walk-on up at Tech. And I had not even really thought about going to college at that point. And he asked me to go, so I said, it's kind of like in that show, Remember the Titans, he said, sign me up. Remember Lassiter runs in there, and he goes, somebody said football, so I come running. And that's how I got to Texas Tech. And so I went to Tech, and I got my undergraduate degree, and then I moved to Denton, Texas. And I coached for a guy named Gary Fisher for 10 years, about 10 years, 10 or 12. I think it's 12. And coached for him a long time. And then we actually played John Walsh and Lee Vallejo at Brownwood in the playoffs. I think it was 2002, something like that. And they beat us 10-9 in Waco. And Gary's wife, Barbara, she became the principal at Guyer High School. And she hired John to be the head coach at Guyer High School. And Lee and Mitch Stovall came with him there, and we played against them. And I was getting my master's degree at the time at Texas Women's University. And so I stayed and coached with a guy named Randy Paskowski. And Randy has a couple of brothers that coach at OSU. That's crazy. This path is fixing to cross. But then I went out to Vernon, Texas, which is really out in the middle of nowhere, but it's a beautiful place. And it's right on the edge of an area along Red River that's a bunch of ranch. And those kids don't know anything but playing football. Vernon's got probably one of the best records in the state of Texas at any classifications, like overall. And matter of fact, Southlake and Vernon, 1991, that's the year I graduated high school. That was probably in Pennington Field. That's probably one of the most famous games in the history of high school football. But I left Vernon and I went to Pilot Point, and I became the defensive coordinator there under Blake Felt. Blake Felt was the head coach at Buda Hayes for a little while. His son Boone is a GA at Texas State right now. But we went undefeated, went 15-0, and played Kirbyville in the state championship game at Jim Wacker Field in San Marcos, because they didn't play all the state championship games at the Big House at that time in 2009. Yeah. And then from there, I took a head job across the Lake Ray Roberts from Pilot Point called Valley View, which is on 35 in between Gainesville and Saint. And I stayed there for a year, and then I went back to Pilot Point and became the defensive coordinator again for a second stint under a new head coach named Rob Best. And I stayed there for 3 years, and then Derek Ramsey, who is now the head coach of Keller Fossil Ridge, he called me. He was the defensive coordinator at Guyer. He actually was the defensive line coach for us at Denton High School. And when John came in, he left to become John's strength coach. And he really started. We really hang our hat on the strength program that we had at Guyer, and we have now here at San Marcos. And really, Derek was kind of the initiator or founder of that. Then went through Brian Kagans, who's now at OU, and Kyle Keese, who was a national strength coach of the year at Guyer High School. But he called and asked me if I wanted to come to Guyer, so I was going to kind of go from being a coordinator and a head football coach to now be a position coach and coach linebackers. But his son was going to be a seventh grader, and so he was basically asking me to come coach his son at linebacker until he graduated. And Cole graduated this past year as a senior, and we went to the state championship game. And it was really a dream come true, something we started back when Cole was in the seventh grade. And after they went back-to-back state champions. And we got back to the state championship game. And then John accepted his job here in San Marcos. And he called me and asked me if I would like to come and join him and his athletic leadership team. And kind of like Lassiter on Remember the Titans. Somebody said football and I come running. That's how I ended up here. That's how I'm here in San Marcos. So.
Wow. That's a
little about
story.
Me. I know that's kind of long-winded, but
hey, no,
that's who I am.
Hey, I appreciate it. And that was, what a crazy path for all you guys. It's funny how I've noticed this with all of the different coaches, how there's been so many connections, like you playing in Wacker Field, and then now you're here, and, Oklahoma State, and then JW played for Oklahoma State, and Coach Spavital and all that. So it's pretty crazy that now.
Yeah, so Spav, he was the head coach. He was JW's quarterback coach at Oklahoma State. Now he's here today. It's really unbelievable, to be honest with you. It's been an honor. I'm pretty excited about what the future holds. I know in my heart, I don't say this being cocky or anything, but we don't lose. We win, and everywhere we've been, we've won, and it's really been not just me, but there's a lot of people on staff and that came in with Coach Walsh, and everywhere we win, we've been winners, and there's a good formula out there. I'm constantly telling the coaches that are still here right now, like, we don't have to rewrite the script. We don't have to try to reinvent the wheel. We know what the formula is. It's not something necessarily that we came up on our own, but really a collaboration of a bunch of hardworking men over a long period of time, and doing the same things over and over and over, and seeing really positive results. And so that's the formula that Coach Walsh brings to the table, a winning formula. And it's pretty tried. It's been tested. They got those hats when you get to the state championship games. It's Texas tested. We've been Texas tested. The first play that ever happened for me as a linebacker coach at Guyer High School, we were playing Kyler Murley.
Oh, my gosh.
At the new football field over there at UNT. And on the very first play, he took his own read to the house for like 73 yards. That was the very first play that I was the linebackers coach. And I think everybody thought the linebacker was supposed to have him, but it wasn't supposed to be the defensive end and the safety. But anyways, I got blamed for it, and I sure felt bad after the game, man.
Hey, well, looking at where he's at now, I'm sure you can't beat yourself up too much for that one.
No, man, Kyler, good Lord. The things that he's doing now and with Cliff, and then that's another thing. Cliff's from right up there at New Braunfels, and I've always known about his path, and I got here because that's where I went with Texas Tech. And so, anyway, there's a lot of similarities, a lot of connections. Sir. I don't really understand it all, but I'm just very, very blessed to be able to be a part of it.
Absolutely. And we're happy to have you here in San Marcos. And speaking of San Marcos, just aside of the football and all that stuff, just what's been your first impressions being in the city?
Yeah, it's not really a city. It's a town.
Yep.
And it's just a little old country town, actually, in between San Antonio and Austin. And San Antonio does not want to claim us, and Austin doesn't want to claim us. And so we're just kind of in the middle here. But this is a beautiful, beautiful place. You can go. I live right now at the NBC Suites over McCarty Lane. I have since I moved here. I love it. It's a nice little place. But you can go up and down McCarty Lane where the school really becomes Rattler, Drive. There's deer out there running around, and I've spent a lot of time at all the rivers, the Comal, the Guadalupe,
Yep.
The San Marcos, the Blanco. I've even spent some time at Lady Bird Lake and the San Gabriel over there and other side of Georgetown. So there's a lot of really cool places. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. But San Marcos, it seems to me that we got a lot of hard-working people. This is a blue-collar town. I mean, even the people that work in white-collar industry, I think they're raising the kids to have that blue-collar work ethic. And, it's something that when we came in, you don't really know what you're going to be able to get. And these kids ain't soft. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
They're ready to work. And the coaches that stayed here in San Marcos with us, it was 6 of them. And all 6 of them, they got a wonderful work ethic. And they're really, really good coaches. And we're excited.
Yeah, I think last year was my first year calling the Rattlers on the radio. And I mean, I learned so much about the program being at practice and then just the kids. I mean, they, like you said, they really all have like such a hard work ethic, and a lot of them come from tough backgrounds. So like you said, they're not soft. That's for sure. That they've been through some adversity and they're going to continue to work through it on the football field. That's for sure. Well, as our next question, I've heard so much from the offensive side of the ball. I've talked to Coach Nash. I've talked to Coach Walsh, talks about their mentality on the offensive side of the ball. But please tell us a little bit about the mentality of your defense and what fans and parents and everybody can expect going into next season.
Well, we've just been doing a particular scheme for a long time. And then each year we go back and run analytics of that scheme. And instead of changing the scheme, through the analytics, we just go in and tweak the things that we're doing so we can understand what kind of adjustments that we're going to make and so forth. We played Austin Westlake in the state championship game this past year. And I don't know the exact stat, but I think they ran for 32 yards on 27 carries. Maybe it was 21 carries, something like that. But they were trying to steadily run the football, and that thing I know they had under 50, right? So in a state championship game and a team beats you 24-0, and they only had a certain amount of yards rushing, you would think, well, they were just passing the ball, and they did move the ball with passing the ball, but we were able to stop the run. And I think everywhere we've been, whether I've been at Denton High School or I've been at Vernon High School or we've been at Pilot Point. My first game as a head coach was against Gunner. And Gunner was ranked, probably 8 in 2A, and we were in 1A. This was before the reclassification. And we surprised them and beat them. We beat Jake Vassell, and those guys at Gunner 10-9. I think, it was 7-8. So I went for 2. We chose to go for 2 and get the win at our place and kind of shocked the world. But we were able to stop the run that night. At Pilot Point, when we made the run to go 15-0, we stopped the run. And when we came to Geyer and I joined back up with Derek, we continued to stop the run. And, that's what I think. If you got to start defending everything from A gap to B gap to C gap, and then the alley, and then the flats, the hook to curl in the flats, and then, what I consider no man's land out there outside the numbers. But it's just a philosophy that we're going to try to be sound in the run game and try to defend everything from inside out. And then, we want to be really sound in the passing game. And, this past season, our middle linebacker was the leading tackler of the team, and he was the leading interception player because we were able to tamper him out, kind of like Brian Urlacher and those guys at Chicago in that 4-3. And that's really what we are, a 4-3.
Gotcha.
We can't get into what people are still calling a 4-2-5. It's just basically all that is taking your sandbacker and putting him out there on the hash, and letting him be the particular pass defender for the RPO game. That's really how all this thing kind of developed. And so we want to base out of a 4-man front. Carl Thompson, who played for us in 2014, which was my first year there, and went on to be a 4-year starter at Rice. He's come on to be our defensive line coach. Carl was a big part of what we did at Geyer this past season. He kind of just came out and mentored the kids and our defensive linemen. And so you know, when Coach Walsh said we had a chance to hire him, I was all in because that's one of my kids. And then Gabriel Blankenau, who's coaching our linebackers, he played linebacker for me at Valley View, and when he was a sophomore, and continued to be a 3-year starter after I left and went back to Pilot Point. And then when he was doing the student teaching, one of his professors was the principal at Randall High School, where I graduated from, and Steve Williams, and he was Coach Williams to me in high school. He's my D-line coach. And so Gabe asked if he could do a student teaching with us at Guyer. So he spent a couple of years with us at Guyer and then went on back to Valley View and then to Randall. And then we just hired him back here. So I got another one of my kids. And then I got another young man that's going to be coaching at Miller Middle School named Kyle Railsback, who was an all-state safety for us at Vernon his senior year with about 136 tackles. Really an outstanding kid. And he's been coaching at one of the middle schools in Denton for us, one of our main feeder schools there. And he's coming with us. So, you know, we're putting together some people that they kind of know the scheme and they know kind of what we're doing. And then that brand of football, we're going to be like, we want to be physical, you know, but we want to be smart too, you know, like there's a time where we just need to be able to be patient, read some things and see what the offense is doing and then react to them. And so, you know, sometimes just going, you know, just crazy, you're not able to be disciplined. So we want to be a very disciplined football team. But when we get there, hopefully we teach a brand of a type of football in the way we train. I think Coach Nash, I listened to your podcast with Coach Nash. He talked about training smart and training efficient. And we really learned that mostly from Brian Kagans and Kyle Keese. They kind of developed this training mechanism to create this explosive power. And so we try to get those kids to correlate what they're doing out there in the weight room and then in what we call the grid, which is a kinesthetic balance and movement understanding with prescribed footwork to certain keys. And then so we try to put that into what we're trying to teach on the football field. So all year round, we're training for football, and we're not doing it to, you know, a lot of the coaches here in San Marcos, a lot of times they'll be like, Coach, we're going to have extra time. And I'm like, it's all right. Let's just recover a little bit. You know, you don't, if you got a 5-minute period, you don't have to go nonstop for 5 minutes, you know, because we're going to just let's figure out what we think the reps and sets are. Let's get it done, be efficient with it, be very productive with it. And then let's rest for a little bit. Then we'll get over to the next station. And it's okay to rest and let your body recover. So we want a sharp mind. We feel a fresh mind is a sharp mind. So Coach Walsh he has a philosophy that, you know, we're not going to go out there and hit. So you say you come out to practice. You're not going to see a bunch of hitting going on. We want to hit during the game. So a lot of the things that we're doing on how to teach tackling and a lot of block destructions, things like that, we're probably going to have some type of pad in our hand, you know, versus whoever we're going with, because we don't want to beat each other up. We just want to be really smooth and prescribing whatever keys we're seeing and then how we react to them. So that's how we're going to be on defense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you so much for listening to the episode with Coach Nash. Truly appreciate it. Any support you guys give us. Oh, thank you. But just as the next question, so you mentioned how, you know, a lot of the coaches that you've hired, you're putting them at the middle school level as well. And I know that's something that I know a lot of people may not be familiar with in San Marcos is Coach Walsh's vertical alignment plan. So from your perspective, just how important is that and how much does that help breed success in a school district?
No, the people that don't understand, if Coach Walsh had a choice this year, if they said, okay, you could play everyone under level, JV, freshmen, 8th grade, 7th grade, or play varsity this year because of the COVID thing or whatever.
Yeah.
I think he would probably have a hard time because, you know, just looking for the foundation. I mean, we're trying to build a foundation like building a house. You know, we're going to have to pour a slab, and we need to make sure that slab is you know, laid correctly where there's no cracks in it. And and that's what the middle school is. And I've spent quite a bit of time with our middle school coaches in training over the last month or so on various issues. But we want them to understand that they're very much a part of everything that we're going to be doing. And I started my career as a middle school coordinator at a place called Calhoun Middle School in Texas. And we had our quarterback there was James Battle. And I don't know if you know who James Battle is.
Yes, sir.
But he played his middle school football for me.
Wow.
Over there at Calhoun. And we had some really, really good players, just not James, but I knew that would just kind of jump out at you because of what he ended up doing.
Yes.
Jarvis Moss, I don't know him, but he blocked an extra point versus he played for Florida and blocked the extra point that gave them a national championship. He played for us over at Calhoun.
Oh my gosh!
So,
wow.
We had some unbelievable athletes, but I know what the importance of. We stayed with those kids and kind of grew them up and then brought them up to the high school. The recent offensive coordinator at Ryan High School, he started over there at Calhoun, and he was a junior middle school, scouter for us. We used to scout back then. We don't really scout much anymore.
Yeah,
like sending people there. But his name's Lonnie Teagle, and I remember Lonnie coming to the field house, and he started as a middle school coach. So middle school is you kind of earn your stripes into it. And you build relationships with the older guys that kind of got a little experience, and you understand what the chain of command, because coaching is a fraternity, and if you've ever been in a fraternity, the word fraternity is that there's some type of there is a political system in it, and it is what it is, but that's what it is. So you kind of earn your stripes, and you might do some things that you might not necessarily wanted to do, but that's what it took for you to get your niche and find out what you're most talented in. So the middle school is it's a place that most people are going to overlook. And I see that in programs all over the state. And Coach Walsh knows because of where he came from, Brownwood. And all you got to do is say Brownwood and you think of Gordon Wood. And Gordon Wood did not create a system to win the state championships that he did without that vertical alignment. So this vertical alignment has been going on for a long time. And the really, really great ones that are out there, that are the legends, the G.A. Moores, the Butch Fords, the Randy Allens. I could go on and name a bunch of them, but they all did vertical alignment too. So I think a lot of people miss out on that. And so, to be able to bring Kyle in there and him kind of, lay the foundation. Matter of fact, we had the middle school coordinator from Crownover Middle School and Guyers Feeder Zone come down and clinic the staffs, both the boys and the girls staffs, on what his daily, week work schedule was like at that middle school, so that they could kind of understand what their calendar is going to look like moving forward. And so we put a lot of emphasis on it, and I think it will pay dividends. I actually met the quarterback, and I can't even remember the young man's name, but he's going to be an 8th grade quarterback, I think, over at Miller or Goodnight. I can't remember which one, but I met him and his father in the indoors today, and so it was exciting to see that we got a bunch of little rattlers, that are ready to get on board with this whole thing. Our freshmen, we've had a complete separate freshman workout in our strength and conditioning. And we've had really, really good numbers and really good commitment and great attitude. We're just really excited. We're tickled to death.
I can only imagine. And I'm sure that the first time that you saw the facilities at San Marcos High School, you got super excited looking at them. I remember the first time that I went out there, because believe it or not, you may have heard this in the podcast with Coach Nash. I went to Hayes High School. So, I was the big rival coming in, but I got converted. But
you know who Blake Felt is, and Boone Felt,
yes,
and Billy
sir.
Gams. You know Billy Gams?
I don't know.
Billy Gams was an offensive coordinator at Hayes whenever Coach Felt was there, and he was my next door neighbor in Denver.
Oh, wow. That's pretty crazy.
So I know that's a kind of a crazy thing, but anyways.
But yeah, when I went over to San Marcos for the first time, because they weren't in our district and we weren't really playing them at the time, I went over for a 7-on-7 tournament, and I could not believe, I was like, they have an indoor and this huge stadium. So just what were your first impressions seeing those facilities?
Well, this is a funny story, but so this job came open and they hired a recruiting firm, like a headhunter group
Yeah.
called JG Consulting, to go out and get candidates to apply for the head coaching job. And they sent me an email. And so I went through some Zoom interviews with him. And, obviously I can't, man, Coach Wall, I've just been a coordinator. I was only head coach for a little while at a little 1A school. So Coach Walsh's pedigree is pretty stacked, but he actually was applying for the same job. And so I got online to look at this when the job was open. And I got to see the facilities, and I was like, yeah, that's where I want to end up, right there. And, it's just kind of like, really, it was just an offhanded remark to myself, that would be awesome. And then, I got an email back from the consulting firm, and they said, we've chosen to go a different direction. I'm like, that's cool. We can just see what else is going to happen. And then it wasn't probably the next day that John called me and said, hey, I got the job over at San Marcos. And I was like, man, I just applied for that same job. And he was like, well, I beat you out. And he said, but why don't you join me? And I said, all right, let's go. And so he said, well, are you sure you don't have to think about it? I said, I just applied for the job. I was already, I was ready to move there. So why wouldn't I be still ready?
Yeah.
So I dropped everything and said, let's go do this thing. So I was just really excited to be able to have the opportunity to coach and have a group of young men and lead them, try to be a good leader.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And getting to those young men, what has just been your impression of all your players and your student athletes so far?
Yeah, and I kind of had talked about this earlier, and I'll piggyback on it. But when you come in and the team is 2-18, all right, it's you don't really know what that it's something. I don't know what it was. Something happened, whatever. And I started watching some video and stuff, and I just seen a lot of kids that really they didn't matter really what the score was. They never really quit. You could watch the video.
Absolutely.
It could be whatever score. It really didn't matter. They were playing hard.
Exactly.
And then when we got in and started working some, getting in and being able to start working the strength and conditioning and being around them more, and they were workers. I mean, they did not. They had the great attitude, and that's probably a little bit of a testament to Coach Soto and the staff that
Absolutely.
were there. I got to give credit where credit's due, because somebody taught those kids how to work.
Absolutely.
And they were workers. And the staff that like I said, that we have Coach Strunk and Coach Robledo and Coach Webb and Coach Kelly and Coach Cogdell and Coach Zambrano, Coach Mazer, Coach Pinchback, Coach Napoli. I mean, you can just go down the list there. And Coach Hallaton and Pack, the two middle school coordinators, and
yes, sir.
Both Michelle's, Moreno and Washington at Miller and Goodnight at the girls' side. Just everybody worked. I mean, there was not really anybody that was not willing to do it. But we, everybody, the kids, everybody had a great work ethic. So sometimes you have to teach that. And we were fortunate that we didn't have to go in there and teach work ethic. It had already been established. And so we were going to try to take that work ethic and try to point it in the vision that really Coach Walsh and Mr. Cardona and, had really talked about whenever John took the job. And we just wanted to try to put that vision in place. And if it had not been for the work ethic that these other people that were involved had already, we may have had to take 2 steps back to make 1 step forward. And we didn't have to do that. We were able to take 2 steps forward. And I felt like this past week, both on offense and defense, and then what we do in our movement, in our grid and our weight room and our meetings that we're having, I mean, I just started to see this thing mature and grow. And, I mean, we started having, some time for the kids to come out and get on Zoom meetings and meet with our staff. And, we're not having to go, hey, why weren't you there? It's like, boom, they're there. They're sitting there waiting on the host, to get on, and they're eager and they're hungry. And they're really smart kids, and they've been taking notes and studying. And so I'm very appreciative to be able to have a group of young men like that.
Absolutely. And, you mentioned Coach Soto and what he did for the kids, but, he also played a really big part. I don't know if you know this, in getting that new stadium and that indoor facility built. So
Right.
he really, years ago, he helped lay the groundwork, for what's happening right now in San Marcos. So we're always appreciative to him and hope he does well at Johnson. But getting in,
I've always dreamt of having facilities like that to go work out every day.
Me too.
And so, now it's like you walk out of your office and you're into this huge indoor.
Yeah.
And it's a full-size place, and there's a track over there. And, we can do it. Listen, I used to have a saying all the time, if you want to get something, I was a coach at Geyer, and I would tell parents, if your kid wants an opportunity to do something, they can do it at Geyer. Like, anything you want to do, you can be successful. Whether it was fine arts or ROTC or sports or whatever it was, you could do it at Geyer. I mean, that's the kind of system we have in place. But, with the leadership of Mr. Cardona and Ms. Presley and all of the administration team, just looking at San Marcos, it's the same thing. The facilities are not great just in athletics, but go look at, that fine arts, the PAC, what they call the PAC. It's unbelievable.
Yep,
and then outside of it in the courtyard, they got a stage, and they got for people to have a play during lunch for the kids. And they said Matthew McConaughey comes down and use them as extras. And I know that Texas State has a beautiful, fine arts program and theater program. And so it's kind of weird because this town is it's a blue collar community, but it has a really big focus on just a well-rounded person, whether it's fine arts or athletics, or we want our kids to do everything. Honestly, and I think that's kind of a new attitude too, because we're going to have some kids that were playing basketball for pension athlete. I think they're going to play football because they know that once we get done, we want them to play basketball, and then we want them to run track or play baseball or play soccer or wrestle or whatever it is. Like, we want our kids competing in it. And that's the great thing about a one high school town is you really, if you all get on the same page and become a family, you don't have to compete with each other. You can just work together and be collaborative. Yeah, that's it, family. And Pinch knows that.
Yep.
Listen, who he learned from, Chris Dyer. I mean, I don't know if you know who Chris Dyer is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so his background and what he's done. So, listen, he's learned from Chris Dyer's as good a basketball coach as anybody in the country. And I'm talking John Calipari.
Absolutely.
I mean, you name the collegiate coach in basketball. Chris Dyer is that nationally at the high school level.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So pension that, they come from a good place and they understand that. So, again, that's another thing that we get in and that's who we're working with. And they're automatically bought in and understand because we had already played them. We got familiarity with them. And so it's been pretty cool, man.
I bet you. Well, I know that on the defensive side of the ball, and I know they're going to be playing offense this year too, from what I've been hearing, but you always hear about Kudus Ogunbasi and Cannon Webb just being really stars out there on the field. I remember there was one game where last year it was against Smithson Valley, and the game's their leading receiver, I forget his name, but he had been the first half, he had just been eating them up on defense. And then they made an adjustment where Q was playing him. And for the second half, he was quiet. So those are really just two studs there. But what are some other players that you've really seen throughout your time here? I've seen you coaching up the linebackers. I saw that video as well. But who are some of the other kids that you've seen that have really stood out to you?
Yeah, we're gonna lean on a lot of kids actually. Really with this COVID thing, we need to double train all our kids and treat them like they're a two-way player because honestly, just this season's a special season because we don't know, the future of what is going to happen. And if somebody were to have to spend some time quarantined, then we really need to have that next man up mentality. So, we've really been kind of like our mentality is, hey, we're going to start with the foundation of the middle school. Well, the same thing with what we're doing right now. We're taking every sophomore through senior, and anybody that think we has has a bright future to be a Ratliff football player, we're going to double train them. And, that goes from defensive line to we have a Schultz. He's going to be playing the linebacker and, a defensive end and a running back. We're going to have a kid like Vega who's going to play receiver and defensive back.
Wait, is that John? Is that John Vega? From the basketball team? Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. And he's been coming in, really been a shutdown corner for us in our 7-on-7s that we've been going against. He's got a really bright future. We really like him quite a bit. And then Xavier X,
Yeah.
we like him. He's going to be able to play corner and be able to play a receiver. Mo, we're going to – do you know who Mo is?
Moses Alva. Oh,
Yeah,
he's a monster.
He can play our star linebacker,
Yep.
And he's going to be also playing on the offensive side of the ball. And then Coleman, he's going to be playing our weak side linebacker. Jay Simmons, the sophomore, I think he's about 6'2".
I'm excited to see him.
200 pounds. Yeah, I went on TAC the other day, which is like how we keep roll and everything of the students.
Sir.
And it's got a picture of him, and he's got a picture of him when he's a freshman, when he came into San Marcos High School. And I was like, he doesn't even look like. So, again, that's where credit's credit due. Andre Sierra, he did a really good job with that weight program, and really Coop and Cooper Harrelson and Zambrano and really some of those guys, they did a good job of getting some weight on the kids. Jay grew up. Jay's going to be in the biggest middle linebacker I've ever played.
Yep.
And he's going to be a good one. And then I think we've got some depth beside those kids. We got a kid named Chaz that used to play corner, and I think he's going to have an opportunity to come in there and play star when Mo's on the other side. And then we got at the safety position, we got Malik and then Jamil, and they're two twin brothers, I believe. Mm-hmm. And one of them's going to play corner, one's going to play safety. So we're double training those guys as well. And then we got a defensive end named Julian Moreno. He looks like the defensive ends we've been playing with at Geyer. Both of those kids, one of them's got an offer, a senior. Cooper Lands is going to Baylor. And then we had a kid named Devin Gorey that went to Missouri State last year. But Julian reminds me a lot of him. We got a kid named Wigger who plays on he was an outside linebacker, and he's going to play defensive end. We had a kid that came over from wrestling named Dane that's going to play defensive tackle. A kid named Pettis who was an offensive lineman. We're going to put him in defensive tackle. Then, really – I just named a whole bunch of kids.
Yeah,
There's probably some more kids that I haven't named. But so the point is, we're looking for a whole bunch of people to play because we don't know what really this football is, this canvas that we're fixing to paint. We don't know what it's going to look like. So our preparation is, when we go in and meet and have meetings, we don't necessarily meet as a unit, a separate unit positions. We meet as a unit with everybody in there because we're all coaches and players learning something new. So, it's a kid that might be playing middle linebacker that maybe could play, some other positions. Maybe if the star can play different position, maybe a corner and a safety can be able to be interchangeable, and then they can go play receiver and running back. And, so we're trying to keep everything simple, make a few little adjustments with some alignments and movement, and then let John and them take those guys and let them go score. The best defense is a good offense, and the good offense to me is an offense that can run the football and can manage the clock. And John Walsh is a master at running the clock and moving the chains and keeping us fresh on the sideline. Sometimes they score a little too quick, but I always tell Coach Walsh, hey, we can take those points anytime we can get them. So that's nice.
Absolutely. A funny story about Jay Simmons last year at Texas State's fall scrimmage before the season starts. Coach Soto was out there, and I ended up talking to him, and he showed me a picture of him last year before his freshman year. I was like, holy crap. And now seeing how he's gotten, even bigger with the program, like you said, shout out to Coach Sierra on that one. He's going to be a fun one to watch, but so will the whole defense. Absolutely. But I
am looking forward to, I'll just put this out here. Coach Sierra was here and he decided to go with New Braunfels.
Yeah.
And I totally respect that, completely respect that. But believe me, that first game of the year, it already has a little mustard on it because I don't believe San Marcos has ever been beaten New Braunfels. But then we had somebody leave our staff and go over there to go there. So, I'm kind of like, I think Coach Nash said this one time, and you may have said it in your podcast, I believe. But, I'm kind of like Michael Jordan in that documentary that he did. I can make things up in my mind to make me a little bit more motivated.
Yeah.
So, That's the way I look at it. I love him. I hope he does well. I think he did a good job here, but I'm going to look forward to playing.
Absolutely. I mean, hey, that's an old district rival for the past couple years. So to play them in
Right.
non-district games, that's a little even more mustard, like you said.
Right.
But just to end things off here, I think one of the big things that I've noticed, whether it was Coach Pinch last year, Coach Walsh coming in, Coach Nash, now you, relationships seem to be just the core foundation of what you guys are trying to build here. How important are they to you? I know I've even taken it on as like a saying. I call it relationships build championships. How true is that statement to you, and how true is that just in this new program?
Well, when we talk about relationships and building relationships, there's one guy here that we kept named Brian Webb. He's a baseball coach, and this guy's all about relationships. And so he's got some kids that are coaching for him. We got one, Jeremy Gonzalez, or maybe Jeremy Rodriguez. Mm-hmm. He is one of Coach Webb's baseball players that's at Goodnight Middle School. Mm-hmm. And then he's got Christian Cogdell, who's actually going to be coaching our defensive tackles, and he coaches baseball with them.
Yes, sir.
He coached them. Then I got a couple of coaches here, and then Coach Walsh has got Carl, Thompson, which we both coached. And so, when you see kids or younger guys that are coming to work for you and they believe in you, now it's been a long relationship. It's, you're a lifelong, you always hear, I want you to be a lifelong learner. All right. But I also want you to be a lifelong family member. That shirt you keep holding up.
Yes, sir.
I got a whole family of kids out there. I'm starting my 25th year. And, I got a whole bunch of people out there all over the country, all over the world that I consider family. And to my daughter, she's 15. She's going to be a freshman at Guyer. And everywhere we go, but somebody be like, Coach Kloiber. I mean, literally, we were driving up a mountain on our bicycles in Colorado, and this bus was coming down the hill, and they were like, Coach Kloiber. Somebody yelled at the window. And it was somebody that I had taught and coached. He was actually a trainer for us in Pilot Point. You see you do that for a long enough time, and you have this big family of people, and you look back on your career and the wins and losses. The wins are nice. The losses are things to learn from, but the relationships, you can't get rid of them. We were talking today in a Zoom meeting. It was a PLC for New Year teachers, and they said take a picture of something that talks about relationship. And so I took a picture of the state championship medallion that we won at Pilot Point in 2009. In the background, you can see a book about Stephen Covey had written a book called The 7 Characteristics of Leadership. And, that's what we're trying to do, is just teach kids about how to become a productive citizen. And if they all come together and do it the way that you kind of dream about when you're building your curriculum for your program, they're going to get that state medallion, and you can't ever break that bond. You can't ever break that.
Yeah.
And so, even if you don't get that gold medallion, if you have winning seasons and you have winning programs, then that's all they're going to remember is about memories of winning and that brotherhood and that bond, being a part of a team. I've been a part of some type of team my whole life.
Yeah.
And I really don't think that I would know how to function. I'm scared that I might not be able to know how to function when you don't have that bond. So I consider all of those kids, my sons and my daughters, and, I consider the people that I work with, family members. And, it's not always it's not all roses all the time.
Yeah.
We're going to have some hard conversations sometimes. We're going to have accountability. We're going to have to be disciplined. We're going to have to, people say trust the process.
Yeah.
The process is setting process goals every day to get to whatever you think it is. Like, you need to map out what tomorrow is going to be like today so you can start preparing for it. Defensively, you asked earlier what we're going to be like. Like, I'm going to pattern everything we do over about what Nick Saban does. He talks about this process and setting these process goals. Matter of fact, we had a Zoom meeting. I don't know if you've seen Coach Walsh's tweet today, but we had a Zoom meeting for the defensive staff with Carl Scott, who's the defensive backs coach at Alabama today. And,
Wow.
So, our style of football on the defensive side is going to try to match and pattern, which is really what they do, a pattern match zone. We want to pattern and match what Alabama's doing and learn from them. We have another Zoom meeting set up with their defensive line staff next week, and so we're going to educate and get better at that. But, I think that's something that, building relationships is just not with kids. It's with the community. It's with the administration. It's with the student body. I'm going to be teaching a class called postgraduate readiness to all our athletes on the boys and girls side. So I'm the girls coordinator. Brian Webb is the boys coordinator. I'm the girls coordinator. So I'm going to be teaching a class to both of those. And we're just talking about things that, when we get out of school, we may not be able to continue to be an athlete. And we need to, understand that. And then we got to understand we got to go get a job. We got to go be a productive citizen. And, we got to be able to take care of ourselves. And so we're going to be trying to be teaching them how to do those things. That's the proudest thing in the world. That medallion that I have, it reminds me of all the successful stories that I have out there of kids that maybe somebody wrote them off, and now they're the greatest mothers and fathers. And, I got kids that are politicians and doctors and, just about every type of career that's out there. I've got a kid that's out there doing it, and they're doing it proud. And one of the first things I talk to the kids about each day or the first time I meet them in that introduction, I talk to them, hey, whatever you're going to be the best, whether you're going to be a painter, or a musician or a politician or a janitor or a, sanitation truck driver or a rock hauler, whatever you're going to be, man, try to be the best at that every day. And you know what? They always call back or they write back or get in touch and they say, Coach, that is one of the things that really stuck with me because I actually tried to be the best at what I was doing every day. And it made me be successful. And I remember you. And that makes me proud. That's probably the biggest reward. We call those bonus checks in education.
Absolutely.
That's the only thing you're going to – sorry, there was a fly.
Oh, you're good.
Those are bonus checks. And those bonus checks will come out of the blue when you need them. When you least expect it, you'll get one of those bonus checks, and it'll pick you up. Because there's a lot of ups and downs in this career on a daily basis, just watching people's successes or failures.
Yeah. Wow. Well, just to end things off as the last question, just any message to the community of San Marcos from yourself?
Yeah, I would just ask the community to embrace us. We got a saying called slow cook 'em. We're going to take those kids at the middle school level, and we're going to put them on that, in that smoker, and we're going to slow cook them until they're perfect. And so I would just ask the community to be patient with us as we try to slow cook. And, if all of a sudden something catches fire real quick, help us out, join in, put the fire out, but don't, or wave the fire, whatever, but this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So we're not looking to come in here and just, sometimes people, like, for example, I'm just going to put this example out there. Coach Rodney Webb, who took over for us at God. I mean, he's looking to win a state championship. He's got a state championship team that he's ready, that he inherited. I don't know that we have that state championship team, but I know we got the state championship formula. And so, I don't know what the future holds for this season. I know what expectation we have for our kids so that they can experience this winning culture and the staff and the community. But just be patient with us, believe in us, come out and support us, come talk to us. We've got an open door policy up there. We'd love to be able to talk to anybody about football or, whatever. But I think we've got a good brand of football that we're bringing to San Marcos, a good attitude, a good formula. Coach Walsh has done – I've been coaching for him in 8 years. I've not seen the level of leadership that he's displaying at any point in our relationship that he's doing right now for San Marcos. We're talking to other districts and other athletic directors, and we're way ahead of the curve when it comes to preparation and planning of, our back to play plan. And, we're going to be testing our kids for COVID and not having to charge, and we're going to be doing it so that we can try to ensure that there's a season. I don't know. I'm really impressed with Coach Walsh right now. I've told him that a couple of occasions, and he just kind of laughs and says thanks. But, you know, I've always thought, man, I wish I want to be a head coach, and I have been. But, you know, you always think, I want to be a head coach. And I look at kind of some things that have been put on his plate and Mr. Cardona's plate, and really all the leaders in education across the state. They've got a really, really difficult path to lead because nobody's ever done it before. So, you know, everybody's going to be looking around and saying, you know, they're going to criticize. I guess that's what I'm saying about with the community. Just be patient and don't try to find all the faults in it. Let's just try to be collaborative together and find out how we can make it best for all students, how we can make it best for the stakeholders, the community, how we can make it the best for the student body and the faculty, and try to create a winning formula. Because we're not here just to win in football. We're here to win in everything. It doesn't matter whether it's cross country or tennis or wrestling or, you know, cheerleading or basketball, boys and girls, or softball, or baseball, or volleyball. We want to be one of those Silver Cup teams. You know, some of those people are in our district right now.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to just model. We already know what the formula is. You know, we want to take over. You know, we don't just want to model it. We want to take over. You know, I think there's a saying somewhere like "Don't quit" or "I survived." I don't know where that was at. Somewhere in the weight room or on a T-shirt or something. I'm like we don't want to survive, and we don't want to even think about it. We want to go dominate. Yeah. We want to win, and we want to be the best. And so I think that's the attitude of San Marcos CISD. And Coach, Mr. Cardona has that saying, "Strike as one." And when, you know, it's a really good saying because, especially with rattlesnakes, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And there's so many little correlations with that. It's an exciting time. So community, be patient. Let us slow cook them, support us, and let's be a rattler nation, and let's strike as one.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Coach Kloiber. I truly appreciate you coming on and taking some time out of your day to talk with us.
Well, Jude, I appreciate you, and I appreciate this platform. I've had a lot of coaching stops, and I've only had one other place that really wanted to interview and get to know us, and it was actually after I'd already left Geyer and was coming to San Marcos, and John Piper, who does the Dinko Gridiron Show, he took the time to interview me and get to know me, and it was simply just to, you know, so people can see kind of what the ins and outs of coaching high school football. It's a special breed of people. It's a special breed of men, and it's not for everybody. It's definitely not for everybody. But I'm just excited that there's some people out there like you that want to get to know who we are, and you've got this great platform to spread, you know, kind of our message.
Absolutely. That's, you know, what we're trying to do while we all are a bunch of college kids trying to run a sports department at a radio station. We're San Marcos's radio station. So we want to provide, you know, parents and the community, you know, all the access they can get to Texas State. But really, we've been trying to up San Marcos because there are other places like the Austin American Statesman, you know, the radio station up in Austin that'll cover Texas State. They're going to get coverage regardless. But for the community of San Marcos specifically, you know, we want to try to give you guys a big platform.
Well, I saw that you went out to practice at Texas State the other day. I think I saw a tweet that you put out. It may have been Drew King, who's the writer for the San Marcos.
Drew King.
Maybe it was him. But you're welcome to practice anytime.
Okay.
You can come and be a part of our family every single day, and you don't ever have to. You've got an invitation that is forever. All right. So whenever you want to come be around, not just from the press box, but on the field level, during the preparation, during the week, we really enjoy that. And I know the kids like that because they'll look at you guys. You know, you can do interviews with them.
Absolutely.
You know, during the week up to the preparation to the game.
That's what we did last year.
Yeah, that's a good platform. So, you know, the more you're around and the more you're a part of what we're doing, the more that we can get what we're doing out to the community. And so we can just, you know, kind of scaffold off each other and and work together to bring all this together.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much, Coach Kloiber. We truly appreciate you coming on, and this has been an episode of KTSW Sports 360.